So I was recently talking to a man at a party and he was digging into my career and he was like, "Whoa." He was like, "I did not see any of that coming." And I was like, "Oh, my party trick is being underestimated."
There you go. People don't see you coming, but once they realize you, you've had it. They're checkmate. Too late.
I don't know how to feel about that, but that's
I think
hilarious.
that's great.
Jairo Romero is a seasoned tech executive and go to market leader with more than 25 years of experience scaling some of the world's most successful software and cloud companies. Jairo has held senior leadership roles at rackspace, acquia, and drillinginfo, helping drive transformational growth and multiple billion-dollar exits. Today, he serves as a managing director in private equity, where he helps portfolio companies accelerate growth and build high performing revenue organizations. I've always felt that Jairo has the Midas touch, so please enjoy my time with my friend, Jairo Romero. Hey, y'all, let's go there. Jairo Romero.
Okay.
So I could not have an episode about money or a season about money without having you on, because you are the first person that I ever talked openly with about money. You were the first person that was there when I was actually making money.
I remember. Same here.
And so why don't you talk about how we know each other and how
Oh,
you
you
remember it?
you just took me back. We did talk about money when we were very young and how much money we wanted to make and how important it was for us.
Yeah.
I remember, I will never. You drove that little white car, the Honda.
The
Was it a Honda?
CRX, the
The
CRX. Yeah.
CRX Honda.
Yeah. I know what you're going to say. Keep going.
And you wanted another car so bad,
Mm-hmm.
so bad. And when we got a few paychecks and you got an Audi after that, you
Yeah.
were so happy. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Totally.
We talked about money all the
I
time.
know. I sold that CRX for more than what I paid for it.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, sounds like you.
That's hilarious. Well, there was a total like aftermarket. There was this total market for it about these guys that would race them and like soup them up. And so it became like when they stopped making them, it became like
Like a thing.
a thing. And so I
They
sold
were
it for
cool
more
car.
than
I will never forget that car. Yeah, we talked about money. So we met right out of college, didn't we?
yeah.
Right. So Adele, we got our first shot. We became instant great buddies, like from day one.
Day one.
Well, we went to training together.
We went to
Remember?
which was like a bonding experience.
Yeah, it was us and five other people who are, I consider them friends, although I don't see
Yeah.
them anymore. But
Yeah.
um,
I still see Wendy. I saw
you,
her. I'm
yeah,
gonna see her later today.
I popped into her. I was doing something around her boutique that was like 6 months ago, and I popped in, and she was there, and I said hi.
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh,
yeah, I
that's
just wanted to come in
so
and say hi.
awesome. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's so awesome.
So anyway, so yeah, so that's how we met. Fresh out of college, hungry, broke, trying to figure it out, talking about money, super ambitious.
Yeah.
I remember that about us. Especially you and I, we were like uber ambitious
Yeah.
from day one.
And competitive. Do you
And
remember
competitive.
we got separated? Do you remember this?
Oh yeah,
Because we
a
would talk
manager
so
did.
much.
I don't know
Yeah.
who, but because
Bobby.
we were talking trash.
We were talking trash. We talked so
Yeah, I
much trash
remember
that we were disruptive and they made us sit in different
I
places.
think we made people uncomfortable. Like not you and I. We were fine with
we were
it.
fine. We were
But
having
I
fun.
think people around us were like, I actually think we made people uncomfortable, but that's okay.
That's hilarious. I remember we would get a
Yeah.
phone call and we would start talking really loud if it was like a big call, like a bunch of servers, and we would point at each other like across the way,
Like a playing a
hey,
sport.
hey,
It
totally.
was like playing one-on-one basketball.
Oh my God, it was so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how we met. It was a blast. We became really good friends. It was awesome. I remember we got our first shot together. I remember your story. I remember my story. We pretty much had to convince them to hire us. Like it was, at least for me, it was
Yeah.
not like a normal interview. I was
Mm-mm.
like, I don't think they were gonna hire me, and I actually brute forced myself in.
Same. I didn't get hired. So I
Okay.
actually got rejected. And by the relationships group, and because they told me I didn't have enough sales experience. Meanwhile, I had like built my own business. I was running restaurants and bars, but they told me it didn't translate. And the recruiter liked me and she said, just hang in there. I'm going to introduce you to another group. And that's
Yeah.
when she introduced me to Fabiola, who was
Fabi,
running the
yeah.
transactional part of the business. She changed our lives.
She did. She did. She took a shot.
Right.
I remember. You're right. Similar story. There was a guy called Hector. I forget his
Oh,
last name.
yeah.
And they were in the relationship group.
Yeah.
when we got hired,
Yeah.
and I interviewed with, and I was convinced, and he probably did hated me, and I was like, but I also interviewed with Fabi and that other group, and I hounded her for a month
Yeah.
until I think this lady had to say, well, I gotta hire this guy because he won't leave me alone.
It's hilarious. Yeah. So we were just, I think the thing that about you and me is that we didn't feel entitled.
Mm-mm.
We felt so lucky to be there. And we were making what, 16,000, 17,000. I remember at one point I found out that your TTC was higher than mine and I was pissed because you got
Maybe
more
I
in your
told you,
offer.
right?
Yeah.
I think mine was okay, 17,000.
And mine was like
It
16,500.
it was like $500.
Yeah.
You
But I
know?
was pissed.
But that was all but that's not the money we made. I remember you
Oh,
and I
no.
vividly, our first year made nearly $100,000.
Yeah. Over $100,000.
Because we fucking kicked ass.
Right.
Well,
Totally. Oh, yeah. Of
can we
course. Yeah.
curse here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I do remember. That's kind of like I tell my kids all the time. Like, what was in paper was $17,000, and my first year I made six figures.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
that was it. I remember you, and I remember we showed each other.
Totally.
Going
Our
back to what we were
paychecks.
talking about is like how much you make, how much you make, how much you make,
Yeah.
how much we.
Do you remember the stack ranks? We
Yes.
would watch each other on the stack ranks, and if
That's
your
right.
percentage, if like we would toggle, like if you were
That's
above
exact-
me, I would get
be
pissed.
Right. I did too. It's like, God damn it, I got to sell more next week.
We
And
were
I
like
would-
within a percentage point of each other.
And we would come in early to do so.
Oh my God.
Like I remember,
we wouldn't go to the bathroom, Heido.
I remember lying to you about at what time I was coming in. So he's like, "What time are you coming in?" Because we had hours, of course.
Yeah.
We're on the time clock, right?
Yeah.
But like it was, I don't know, 8 to whatever, 8
Yeah.
to 5. I remember saying, you would ask me, "What time are you coming in tomorrow?" I would say 8, and I would show up at 6:30 just to get an
And
hour
then I
and a
would
half
get
more.
there and be like,
And you were
what?
pissed. That's right. That's right.
So funny.
Because by the time you walked in, I would have had a few sales already.
Oh my
I
God, I
remember
was
that.
so mad. So it's so funny. So what the audience may not realize is we were working on a 1-800 sales queue. So
That's
we were
right.
getting phone calls coming in from all over Latin America and the Caribbean.
Right.
And as soon as that water faucet got turned on or that fire hose got turned on, the phone would start to ring.
Right.
So, you could get there early and stay late if you wanted. You
Right.
could not eat lunch and not use the bathroom.
Which we did.
I know. We did not leave our desks.
Yeah.
It's
It was awesome.
yeah, we were. There were. I felt like there were people that had two kinds of responses in that environment. There were people that thrived in it,
Right.
and there were people that freaked out. Like
Right.
the pressure was too much.
And we saw a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember their names anymore, but some people burned out and left and quit. Remember?
yeah,
Like when you and I and Wendy and a few others came in, Carlos, the two,
yeah, yeah.
well, you
Disco
were-
duro.
yeah, exactly. We had Anita.
Anita. Yeah,
We have a few of us that were pretty close because
Yeah.
we went to training together. That group was such a force.
yeah. We were.
And I think we kind of freaked out the older crowd in
Yeah.
the team, and a bunch of them left afterwards.
Yeah,
I remember
totally,
that. I was
totally.
like, well, too
Do
bad
you know
for
what
them.
that was a lesson for too? We bonded. I don't know if you remember this, but we bonded because we went to U.S. training,
Yes.
and then when we got to Latin America, it was like none of this applies.
That's
like,
exactly
like
right.
we had a whole different set of rules.
That's right.
We were exporting equipment that was being imported in a country. Each country had a different set of taxes, laws,
I
and
remember
so
that.
and so nothing. I would say like, I don't know, maybe 50% of what we learned we could apply, but the rest
Right.
it was like we had to learn from each other.
That's exactly right.
We were teaching each other like, oh, wait a minute, I just fucked up. I have a return.
Do you remember we also shared that with like we were very team oriented. That little
Yeah,
group.
exactly. That's what
And
I'm
we
talking
would
about.
say, hey, like, listen, this happened to me today. Heads up, this might happen to you.
Yeah.
So heads up.
Yeah,
Which country? Blah, blah. I
yeah.
do remember
Or I
that.
said a sentence this way and I
And
closed
it
the deal.
worked. Yes.
And it worked, and we would tell each other what worked.
Yeah.
I have a story. You probably don't remember this, but this story is so freaking funny.
What?
I was on the phone and I was talking to a customer and I was telling him that he could go coger su
wow.
máquina.
That's a bad thing in some countries.
I know. And so, and I was saying that because in Uruguay, you say recoger when you're saying to
Yeah,
go
for
pick
sure.
up,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so I was saying this over and over, and this customer was like, "What?"
in the wrong
What?
country, that
And I
means
was
something very
basically
different.
telling him he could go F his computer,
That's
but
right.
I thought I was telling him to go pick up his computer and where he
Yeah.
could pick it up. And every time I said it, he would start laughing and I would repeat it and he would laugh again. And finally, you came across the aisle and you ripped my headset off of my head. You were like, "What are you saying?" And I was like, "I'm telling him where to pick up his computer."
So
You're
like,
like, "In
dude,
Colombia, we do not
say
say
that.
that." And
Right.
it was just so funny. I was using the wrong, because some words in different countries, and we had to learn that.
That's right.
Like,
That's
we had
right.
to learn how to speak
That's right.
Venezuelan versus Mexican versus in Chile versus,
Puerto Rico and Mexico. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
yeah, and people from Trinidad would yell at us.
Yes,
Remember, they were
that's
like,
right.
because like we would get things wrong. We would say things the wrong way.
That's exactly right. That was a blast. I mean, we learned a lot.
We learned so
The other
much.
thing is, well, I think we had that in us. Some of us, definitely you and I, we worked our butts off,
We did.
but we did it with quality. I think.
Mhm.
I think it was not just about just working. Don't get me wrong. I mean, between like talent and working your butt off, I pick working your butt off anytime. But we kind of we were helping each other, and we kind of became really good at it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
whole group, because I
Yeah.
don't, all those names we talked about, they did well too.
Yeah.
Remember that?
And not just there, but in life.
Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
I'm
They're like,
saying?
yeah,
They
that's it.
applied what we learned in those moments
Right.
to their lives.
That's exactly right.
So there was another moment. So the moment that you were signing up for benefits, do you remember this? I'm going to humble brag. You were signing up for benefits, and I made you sign up for a retirement account, and I made you sign up for the stock purchase program.
Yes, I do, and I didn't want to do it.
You didn't want to do
I
it.
was like, what? No, I
And
want
I was
money.
like, dude, it's a 15% discount.
I
You know,
remember that.
even if the stock is flat,
do
that's a
remember this
15%
now.
return on your money.
I
Like,
do
you
remember
got to
this
do
now.
it.
Yeah, and I was
And you were fighting me on it.
well, yeah, because I need not only I wanted the cash, I
Yeah.
needed the cash. I
Yeah.
remember when I started at Dell, I had to ask my future father-in-law for money to pay my rent, my first rent, my first month's rent check.
I believe it.
Because I didn't have the money, so
We didn't make money for a while.
So he kind of floated me for about a month
Yeah.
because I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So I needed the money.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking, but I do remember you made me.
And when you left to go get your MBA,
That's right.
and you looked in your employee stock purchase plan for
Yeah.
the first time.
Yes.
You hadn't looked at it since you said it.
No.
And it had like 50 grand or something in
That's
it.
right.
And you
I
were
was
like, holy shit, Carla, this is going to pay for my MBA.
that's exactly right.
And
That's
and
exactly
so
right.
anyway, that you were smarter than me. You left at the right time, which I'm going to get to too.
You want to hear a funny story? You're not going to believe this. To this day, this is 25, I don't even know, 25 years maybe?
Yeah,
Later?
30.
30?
Whoa, wait,
We're
no,
getting out
wait,
there.
you're right.
Could be 30. It could be
No,
28
no,
or
it's
20.
27 years. It was
Okay.
1999,
So
dude.
27 years later, I still get letters and have the Dell 401k. Never touched it. It's
No,
still
you
there.
just left it there?
I take once in a while, I remember.
Dude,
and I
we got to
check.
change your mix. It's probably like all bonds
It's
at this point.
It's still
not-
the same. It's still the same. They haven't changed anything. And I still, and actually I had forgotten about it. I never rolled it over like when I left Dell. I was,
Oh my God, how much is in it?
oh, it's like a couple $100,000.
That's like after a year or two. That's amazing.
And so it's still there. And I actually somehow, like, this is like 15 years ago, I started getting like Dell 401k letters, and I finally opened one. I was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, holy crap, this is my 401k from Dell.
It's like $250,000.
Yeah, and it's with Fidelity now. I think they did a deal
Oh my
with
God, dude,
Fidelity.
you have to roll that over.
Yeah, I guess I do. But I actually, I left it there. This is going to sound stupid, to remind myself where I came from.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm like, I look at it and it actually grounds me. And I'm like, Dell, just to read the Dell 401k Fidelity and having to figure out to redo a password and an email, like to get in and check it. It actually grounds me like, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah.
and it takes me back. So I still have it.
Oh my God. You know, that's so funny. This is how similar we are.
Yeah.
I have my first 401k. Actually, it was a Roth.
Uh-huh.
And my mom made me open my first retirement account when I was 13 years old when I got my first job.
That's so awesome.
And it's got $12,500 in it.
And you still
I
have it.
still have it.
I love it.
It's still sitting in Vanguard.
It roots you.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
almost like nostalgic. It's like the
Nostalgic.
first dollar I ever made up on the wall,
Yes,
you
that's
know?
exactly right.
Yeah. Although yours is much more.
Well, he's grown. I mean, it's just hilarious.
That's so
But I
funny.
do remember you had to convince me to do that.
We fought about it. I think I took the mouse out of your hands. Like I was so bold.
Well, I just needed the money, honestly. Like I
Yeah.
was embarrassed to, to ask my future father-in-law for, my rent's
Yeah,
check,
$1,000 or whatever it was.
No, believe me, I was on 35 on the bad part of town. Because I remember it was $470 a month.
Oh my God. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. And then I want to talk about, well, you married Andrea and I was at your wedding.
Yes, that's right.
Your beautiful wife who you're still with today.
Yeah, 26 years married.
That's crazy. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And but then you went to Rackspace,
Yeah.
which is funny. This is how you affected my story big time too. So you went to Rackspace and you made it big.
We did. We hit a home run, and it was a little bit of destiny. I will say though, Rackspace, and I believe this for every step of the way, at least for me, Rackspace wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have been at Dell. And Graham Weston,
Yeah.
who you know well as well,
Yeah.
was enamored with the Dell business model.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was like a Dell business model geek and knew all the books and had met Michael Dell several times.
Yeah.
So, and so that's what got me an introduction to him, and my Dell story was what got him interested in me.
Yeah.
And so like I always tell my kids, whatever you do it well, be very successful, but it sets you up for your next move every time.
Mm.
And so that took me there. So yeah,
Yeah.
Rackspace was it was a great run. Almost 13 years I spent in that company.
God, that's crazy. And then I'll never forget this. You were at Rackspace. We went to lunch. We went to Musashino. And you tried to recruit me to Rackspace.
Like 5 times.
Like 5 times. This was
from the beginning.
I know, I'm
Like I
such
knew,
an idiot.
like I was like, Carla, this is gonna be great.
And every lunch you'd be like, there's another $2 million you just missed out on. You could have $10 million right now. Like you would be so specific. And at one lunch, you slid your paycheck stub across over
Did I
to
really?
me. You did.
I'm so embarrassed.
And I will never forget what that number was because I was like, holy shit.
We were killing it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it wasn't just me. It was just a great company, right place, right time, right product,
Yeah.
right market, So, wow. Yeah, I try to recruit you so many times.
Oh my God. I'm such an idiot. But let me ask you this. What do you attribute your success to at Rackspace?
Someone took a shot. We were talking about Fabi Adele, Graham Weston, and there was this other great mentor of mine called Glenn Reinas. I don't think you ever met Glenn.
No,
he
I
was
didn't
gone
meet him.
well before you got there. He retired years before you got there. But I would say the mentorship of Graham, Glenn, then later, Jim Lewandowski. So those 3 guys, I learned so much from them. And this also happened to us at Dell. We were so young, and we were put in positions. You and I were put in positions that, if we're being honest, we weren't prepared to fulfill, but we had to learn by doing it.
Yeah.
Which is great. And kudos to us. We figured it out quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that they took a shot. And I would say some of the same principles we talked about on the Dell experience, right? Like we're tenacious, we're super hardworking, creative. And then there's something you and I have talked about several times, which you also share, when you're an immigrant, you have to work 2 or 3 times harder than anybody else to get the same.
Yeah.
And I always had that in my mind and had discussions with you since we were kids about that. And you also have to do things differently than the pack. So at Rackspace, I was able to kind of tap into that. I did things very differently than everybody else, and I had the mentorship and support from some great leaders. And I think I put those two things together, and yeah, we exploded.
Yeah.
I say those things, right? I would say a third thing is, and you have this as well, on the personal side, I always had unconditional support, just like you have
Yeah,
Jeff and your
totally.
parents and your sister. Even when, by the way, and it was not all rosy. There were ups and downs everywhere, right?
Sure.
And that rack space too. But through all those, my family always had my back.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what in the early years at Rackspace, helping build that company, we were working 18 hours a day,
Yeah.
and we were traveling the entire world,
Yeah.
and
Rackspace was intense.
super intense, sometimes too intense.
Yeah,
Sometimes I've, as much as I love it now, in hindsight, I think sometimes it crossed the line.
for sure.
If
It did for me.
For many, I
Hmm.
don't think many people there are kind of willing to openly say that. And definitely, I was part of it and enjoyed the benefits of it. But you had to sacrifice a lot.
Yeah.
You had to sacrifice a lot, physically, mentally.
Hmm.
So that support system is so important.
Yeah.
Like, and right now, Andrea and I laugh about it. At the time, we didn't. But like, for some long periods of time, Andrea had to pick up the ball with the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and when we went sent for almost 3 years to Europe, and
Oh,
I
I
was
forgot about that.
and I
That's right.
was, I'm working all day. I'm traveling all of Europe, the Middle East, you
Yeah.
know, and Andrea is an expat
With no one there.
with two kids,
Yeah.
and trying to figure it out. That's super hard.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have been able to be possible without her, and her family was over helping us all the time. And so I'd say, as much as we'd like to think, and maybe when I was a lot younger, I love to think that it was me. It really takes a village.
Totally.
It's not cliche. It takes a lot of people to make someone successful.
Totally. I was
Yeah.
working out with my trainer this morning and she
Yeah.
showed me this book she was reading about this quote unquote self made woman. And as soon as I read the term self made, I was like, no one's self made.
No one is.
No one.
Right.
And she was like, oh, okay. So I guess you're not going to read this book. And I was like, no, I'll read it. I was like, but I don't believe in self made.
Yeah. It's a little bit of an oxymoron.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Okay. So I want to spend some time and we can share war stories about Rackspace and just tech in general. But I wanted to spend some time going back to what you just said about being an immigrant
Yeah.
because I think it cuts both ways. It's both a superpower,
Right.
but if ungoverned, it can rule your life.
It could handicap you,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yourself, your own self. You might not remember. I remember having conversations with you about this when we were
Little,
22,
we're
23,
young, we're
24,
babies. Yeah.
and in how we were going to figure it out, and it was so much harder, and we had to work so much harder, and we needed to kind of take advantage of what we brought to the table differently, and how we were going to emerge by showing a different side than everybody else.
Yeah.
But to your point, that is a superpower.
Yeah.
But the burden and
The
doubt
curse of it.
and stigma, especially nowadays, and this is something that I think about often. It is a heavy burden for a lot of people, and it was to me. I remember, until I got over it, and I promise to you, Carla, and you probably experienced the same, probably double. You and I not only talk about immigration and immigrant stuff, but female.
Yeah.
Until you kind of decide that that's not going to stop you, and that you're going to kind of focus on the superpowers that brings,
Yeah.
that's when it clicked for me.
Yeah. Same.
But when I looked at it from not a lens of when I looked at it as a weakness, when I
Mhm.
looked at it as from a lens of doubt, it held me back several times,
Yeah.
even at Rackspace early on. And then I discovered there were something happened in me where I was like, you know what, F it. I'm just gonna go for it. And whether it's Rackspace or anywhere else, if if I can't tap into that and make that a differentiator for me,
Yeah.
then this is not the place for me.
Yeah.
And so when I let that baggage go, that's when things went like this for me.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And
Because
I
you can
see
either get rejected for it, or
correct.
you have to be open to
And
being
it takes
rejected for it.
that's right. And it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And that's probably you were asking me earlier, like one of the things that what do you think made it was that courageous kind of step that you have to take to say, hey, this is who I am, and I'm gonna kind of rise above that. When that happened to me in my brain, that's when
Do you remember when that moment was, or what caused
yes,
that?
yes. I won't say his name because he might, I don't want to expose him, but I had a I had a friend that worked for me that was from Mexico at Rackspace. This was early on. This was, I don't know, this could have been 2003, 2004, right? And so he was, and Rackspace in that sense was such a great place, very inclusive. And we were trying to help him, and I was trying to help him with our leader of HR to get him a green card so he could stay to continue work
Yeah.
for us.
Something that you and I did for a lot of people, actually.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
'Cause then all the and all these people actually are so successful right now,
Yeah.
and all they needed was that shot, by the way.
Exactly.
But so anyway, back in the day, he comes to me one day out of nowhere, says, "Hey man, I have to leave Rackspace." I said, "Well, hold on. What do you mean I have to leave Rackspace?" He said, "Listen, my work permit thing is expiring
Mm.
and I have to go back to Mexico because I can't work here legally. So I'm going to have to leave." And I said, "Well, hold on a minute. Wait, let's just talk to HR and see what our options are." And I can say her name because I love her. And, Carla Fulton. I don't know if you ever met
I
Carla.
didn't.
And I sat down for hours and hours and hours talking about this and what were the moves to try to help them. And so we figured it out that we needed to kind of apply for a green card for him. And we got our CEO at that time. The CEO for us was Lam Napier. We convinced him, didn't take much to convince him. He was super supportive that the company needed to sponsor him to get a green card for him to stay. But when he came to me, it was game over. He was quitting basically. And I said, "Well, hold on, man.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to leave?" And he's like, "No, no, I love it here. It's changed my life. You know, um, but I can no longer do it." And I said, "Well, have you thought about
Yeah.
figuring it out?" And he was like, "Well, I didn't think that was possible."
So I think that's something about you and me specifically, Heido. And I think
Yeah,
this is something that you and I share,
yeah.
and that we don't kind of accept reality.
We do not. No, no. Almost to a fault.
Almost to a fault.
Bites me in my ass the other way in many ways. But yeah, we don't take it as it is.
Yeah. And we're always
That's
like,
like
there's got to be a way.
there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's sad for me when people, and actually in the same breath, if that person came to us today, would we be able to help them? I don't know.
In this environment, who knows?
Right.
But I would try it.
But we would still try it.
I would try
I
to
would
figure
try
it out.
too.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
we'd find a way.
Yeah. So he came to me and he was done. And I was like, well, and he actually, I remember what changed in my mind. And I remember talking to Andrea about it. And I actually remember a few days later, I invited him for dinner to our house to talk to him about that and what it would entail. And after I had spent several days and hours with Carla, kind of figuring out what we needed to do and getting, the money side of things kind of established and the sponsorship. And I remember sitting down in my kitchen table with him. This is when we still live in San Antonio. And he came over for dinner. I was like, dude, you just can't give up.
Yeah.
And I remember like saying to the person, I almost say his name, you just got to go for it. And if you want to go to the next level, I remember saying this, if you, whether it's here or somewhere else, or you end up staying by going back home and staying there, because it might not work, right?
Right.
You have to have the courage to not play with the cards that are given to you.
Yeah.
And I remember almost giving him a pep talk, like how special he was, and that when he forgot and he looked at his roots and where he came from and what he brought to the table as a when he stopped looking at it as a liability,
Hmm.
and when he started looking at it as a asset,
Yeah.
his life was going to change. I remember having this conversation with him, and because he just kind of had given up.
Yeah. You changed his life. I'm sure
Well,
he,
he did. He was so valuable,
yeah.
Carla,
Yeah.
but I don't think he believed it.
Yeah. Isn't it
Yeah,
fascinating? I will say that I'm constantly telling people that I mentor of all ages that what makes them uniquely them is what's going to drive their success.
that's right.
And to your point around being different and doing something different, I mean, I built my whole career off that.
Yeah,
I did the job no one wanted to do.
right,
You
right.
know, if something
You
was
did it right.
broken, I was the first one to raise my hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
And
did.
if there was a problem, I always got excited because
Yes.
I saw an opportunity in it.
Right.
But I always picked the thing that everybody else wouldn't do. I always zagged. A friend
Yeah.
of mine called me a zagger.
Uh huh.
So our chief revenue officer at NI used to call me a zagger. He was like, "Man, you're a zagger.
Uh
Just when
huh.
I think you're going to go in this direction, you go the other." He's like, "You're so unpredictable." But
Yeah.
that's, I think, how you do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, look, so I think that to kind of bring it back to the immigration stuff, and the kind of the two edges of that sword, and I hope any immigrant that is listening to this kind of really thinks about that. When you start looking at it as an asset
Yeah.
and as a true differentiator, and you have the courage to stand up for what you believe, good things will happen.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy. And you're going to have to eat shit more than anybody else. And you're going to be overlooked. But that's part of what's going to make you even stronger.
Yeah.
And so I think that mentality switch. So for me, when I had that conscious, because I had it in me, right? And I didn't think about it, it's in you. But when I had to verbalize that to this person, I remember after that telling Andrea, that's the problem with a lot of immigrants here.
Yeah.
They just think about it as a bad thing,
Yeah.
and they think in having an accent is a bad. And I actually quite the opposite. I think, right or wrong, it actually makes me smarter and more interesting.
Yeah. And because you speak multiple languages,
Right.
which most people don't,
Right.
right? It's an indication of that.
That's exactly right.
And
So
and you can, and your brain has expanded and and can work in different ways.
that's exactly right.
So I was recently talking to a man at a party, and he asked me what I did, and I told him, and he was digging into my career, and he was like, "Whoa!" He was like, "I did not see any of that coming," and I was like, "Oh, my party trick is being underestimated."
There you go. There you
You
go.
know, right? Because I love being
And
underestimated.
that's a superpower.
It's a superpower.
That's right. You won't see, people will not see you coming, but you're coming.
Yeah.
I actually, now that you said that, that's how I think about you.
Huh.
People don't see you coming, but once they realize, they're fucked. You- you've had it. They're checkmate. Too late.
I don't know how to feel about that, but that's
I
hilarious.
think that's great.
Oh my God. That's so sweet. I think we'll see how that gets interpreted by our audience. But okay, so I think the other thing, the other side of that sword, and I talked to another friend of mine who's an immigrant about this, and we call it the immigrant curse, is this feeling that we won a lottery ticket getting to be here and we have to
Right.
maximize on it,
Correct.
and like not being able to stop the ambition.
Right.
Like being like, it's never, or at least for a long time in my life, it's taken me a while to get here, it's never enough.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know, it's like I want to get to X million, then I want to get to X million, and then I want
Right.
to, and
Right.
you're always like raising the bar on yourself. When did you finally like chill out? When did you finally start to settle in?
It was not a long time ago. I, I would say probably 6 7 years ago. So
Yeah.
that's kind of recent for me, to me,
Yeah.
right? And and that's not on on the professional side, right? Like whatever venture I'm doing, whatever I'm into, um, there is a really good chance that by the time this airs, I'm actually switching firms.
You are?
Yeah, when we're
Ooh.
not on microphone, I'll tell you where I'm going.
Okay, I'm
But
excited
I'm
to
super
hear.
excited. Tier one worldwide, probably one of the top two or three technology investors in the world.
Oh, I
So,
totally know who it is. I
so,
bet I know who it is.
so,
Okay, we
so
gotta
anyway,
chat.
so I'm going there in July. So I'm super excited and super grateful for LLR and what I've done there for the last 6 years. But to answer your question, I think part of me going to the investment side of things, I made a very conscious decision that I wanted to do that after I had my last exit with our last company, um, that was extremely successful as well. But something changed in me, and I think it was a combination of many things. Right, COVID had just hit.
Mhm.
Like literally, we sold that company in Boston, Acquia,
Oh, I remember
in
acquia.
January
Mhm.
of 2020,
Mhm.
late January of 2020.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, COVID hit February, like right after, right? And so, just as I was getting ready to kind of go do, as one does, the
The
next
next
one,
thing.
right? Um, a few opportunities on the investment side of things presented themselves, and I had to think like, whoa, like maybe this is kind of the universe or God, whatever you believe, trying to tell you that the last 20 some years you've done great, but it actually converged with one thing, Carla, and you and I talked about this when it happened to me. I had some health issues,
Mhm.
and it kind of shakes you. At least it shook me
Of
because I've
course it
always
would,
kind of
'cause you're
taken
young and an
pride of like
athlete.
being an athlete,
Yeah.
and so that was one thing. The mental game, it is tiring to build companies.
Well, yeah, it's a grind.
I mean, you've done it too. So
Yeah, I've
it's
burned
a
myself out
grind. You
before.
burn yourself. You travel all the time. You don't see your kids. You're super stressed with work and 5,000 other people's problems who are your people now. And so that mental thing came. I was a little burned out. Health wise, my body was telling me something.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly
Yeah.
was telling me something. Um, and COVID hit. And so we didn't know what COVID was all about. And in the early days, we all thought, wow, we're going to make it out of this. Remember, we were
Right.
like sanitizing
Everything.
the
Paper bags.
groceries,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, which made no sense now. Now we know it made not a lot of sense, but back then we had to do it because we didn't know, right? So
Yeah.
all that kind of came together, and so I remember thinking, well, you can continue doing this, but it's going to drive you nuts, and you got to take care of your health physically and mentally. And then there's this thing. So who knows what's going to happen? So the conditions were right for me to say, well, take a step back and try something different. And I remember having this conversation with Andrea. And if you like it, great. And you could be great at it. But if you don't like it, you can always go back and burn yourself out one more time. Or if you want to continue
Yeah, if
doing
you have
it.
one more in you.
But luckily, we were secure enough that I didn't have to do that, even if
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, all those things came together and they allowed me to kind of do this, which I love now because it allows me to think about not just one problem for one company, but a portfolio of companies.
Yeah.
And it changes the game every single day. And it changes the story every single day. And it changes the players every single day because these firms have hundreds of investments, right? And so that has allowed me to kind of almost have an take myself out of my old self and kind of view it almost it's almost like an out of body experience for me now, my work, which is I'm advising and working with people that I used to be like,
Yeah.
but I'm not them anymore. So I get a kick out of that and it's very stimulating and I love helping them, but I'm not in the grind.
You can go home and leave it with them.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
So
what I
yeah,
find so
yeah,
fulfilling because we're helping these people and then you're like, "Oh, I've seen this movie."
Yes.
Like a problem, they bring you a problem, you're like, oh,
You know what to do. You've done it.
yeah,
You failed at it, then you became successful at it, right?
exactly. Plus the combination of their fresh thinking, their
Yeah.
perspective,
Right.
their experiences, and then you're learning from them.
Hmm.
It is super a super, super cool phase to be in. Now let me ask you this. I'm just curious, has it been just as lucrative now that you've gone to the investor side? Did you have to make a big sacrifice financially to do that?
You and I were talking about this income wise, yes.
Yeah.
Um, Net worth wise, no.
Haha, this is the
You and I were talking
thing.
about that,
Yeah,
right?
which from a tax standpoint is actually the smarter way to do it. You're
Correct.
building more wealth.
Correct. So, if you looked at my W-2s, they're probably the smallest they've been, in a while. But my long term,
Your paper value.
yeah, it's way different, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's knock on wood, it will pan out, and I think it will because I've been lucky enough to be aligned with great firms.
Yeah.
But so yeah,
Yeah.
it's that, right? Is
And
long term.
and asking for a friend, when you move from one firm to the next, do you leave that money in the ground, as they say? Like, do you walk away from that equity or do you get to keep it? How does that work?
Well, it depends, right? It
Mhm.
depends on the firm,
Okay.
and this is why picking investment firms, if your friend is thinking about it, you got to really understand their culture, their partnerships, their the structure of their funds, and kind of the agreement that person will have with the firm. In my case, when I finally said, okay, I'm going to stop being an operator and I'm going to move to the investment side, I was lucky enough that two or three firms came after me, and I
Mhm.
ended up going to this firm because culturally love them, and they align to how I think things should be done in that regard,
Mhm.
in that question you're asking me. So, there's always caveats, right? I can't compete with them. Like there's no
Yeah, yeah.
competes.
But
So
with
there's a
AI,
few
it's all gonna change anyway.
potentially, right?
Yeah.
But so it really depends, really, on the type of firm, because there's many different flavors of firms and how they enforce and how they structure their funds, right? Um, as I kind of think about my next move, that's why I'm another reason that I'm kind of moving almost 180 degrees away from the investment focus of the firm that I'm in, so that
Yeah.
there's no any overlap,
Yeah.
so that safeguards me.
But
So
but to
yeah.
your earlier point about how you're saying you're advising your kids about your prior thing sets up the next thing, from
Yes.
what I'm understanding in our conversations that we've had, you learned how to become an investor. You
Yes.
learned how to step out of being an operator. You
Yes.
learned a great deal from your
Yes.
time there. And
Yes.
now you're going to apply that to a different firm that may be a better
Correct.
fit, but you at least got that baseline knowledge.
I've learned so much, and I would say you got to learn how to become an investor, not just with the money side of things. That like you actually invest your money in these funds too, as
Yeah.
as a as as an investor. That's what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
This is another thing I've learned the last 6 years, Carla. Part of the investment I've made is actually me and
Oh,
my time,
oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this
and how
up.
I think, and that's possibly worth way more than any money or any checks that you invest. Is if you think about investment as a function of your time and your worth and what you bring to the table. So that's actually the big discovery and headline for me of all this time. Yes, all the investment that I made, in our funds, and the carried interest that I get as an employee of the firm. That's all great, and I love it, and I'm very grateful for it. But my biggest investment actually has been what I bring to the table, and my time and my knowledge and what I bring to these companies and what I brought to the firm. That has been an investment for me, because I could take that investment and put it somewhere else, and I
Yeah.
could have many times. That's an investment.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So
that's a big
betting
thing.
betting on yourself, this is I'm so glad you brought this up. Betting on yourself is the best bet you can make every time. And
Correct.
I've been having this conversation with the people that I work with, which I came to the realization, the gift of hindsight. I mean, Heido, imagine if you and I would have spent the time, talent, and energy that we spent building other people's companies, building our own,
Right.
what we would be worth right now.
Yeah.
Like, had you and I left Dell and started something together on our own?
Yeah. That's right.
What would it be worth right
That's
now?
that's
I mean,
that crazy.
it's crazy to think about.
Hmm.
And when I had this realization, because
First of all, we're not done yet.
we're not done yet. We're
Hopefully,
just we're just getting started,
remember
actually.
when I had that health scare years ago, and you and I talked. You're like, dude, calm down. I remember you told me this. Calm down. You're gonna die at 100, and it's funny. I always remember this. You said, and I'm gonna die at 102. Why? Because you have to beat me.
So funny. Um, but well, and I'm older than you, so basically I was doing the math that we're dying at the same time because I didn't want to see you die. So the thing that I've come to realize, I have a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs, and actually Wendy is one of them.
Yeah, she's
That
done awesome.
she's done awesome. I mean, Heido, if you knew what she's built. I was talking to two friends. Wendy was one of them. Another one was another entrepreneur. And both of them at different points in their lives had been like, man, I'm so envious of you. Like, had I just stayed in the corporate world and doing the big corporate jobs, I would have all this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, okay, I hear you. Maybe there was a time in my life where I was making ridiculous money
Yeah,
and then it stopped.
right,
And I had no control over that. It wasn't my company. I
right,
didn't get to decide when it
right,
stopped.
right,
And then when it stopped, I had nothing,
right. Yeah,
right?
you had
Because
to.
I had built companies for other people.
Yes, that's
And
right.
and so there was nothing that was mine. And so there I was. There was nothing. Meanwhile, you're building something
Yeah,
that, because both of them have 100% equity, no one can take away from you. And oh, by the way, you have it in perpetuity.
that's right.
It's there forever
Hmm.
and it's growing. And I recently sat down with Wendy and I showed her how she has lapped my net worth by 3x based on the value of her business.
That's so awesome.
And she was like, "What?" And I was
She
like,
probably, knowing when, she probably didn't think about it
she
that
didn't
way.
think about it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, "Girl, you keep saying
yeah,
that you wish you were me. If you were me, you'd have a third of what you have right now."
yeah.
And
Exactly.
her mind was blown. And
That's
so
awesome.
I think,
That's so awesome.
what you're saying about betting on yourself
Yeah,
is so true. And
yeah.
that's what I'm doing for the back half of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is, I wish I would have known this a lot earlier, but frankly, I didn't think about it that way, and nor did I have the funds to do it. You have to have. I think about it of having, the pinball little machines.
Uh-huh.
Like, if you throw one ball, it goes that way. If you press the other side, it goes the other way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have to have different pinballs in the
Oh,
air.
it's true.
And so a long time ago, about 10, 15 years ago, I realized that. And you got to start. I made the conscious decision to start businesses that actually Andrea runs from, because what
Oh,
I
I didn't
do
know
is,
that.
yeah, I do what I do, and I give it 100% of
Yeah.
my professional brain, right?
Yeah.
But I had the foresight to start a few real estate businesses, and Andrea runs it for us.
Dude, we need to talk about this
Yeah,
because I've
yeah,
been doing the same thing.
yeah,
With this spec house that we're now
yeah, yeah.
doing.
We were
And
talking
then,
about that
yeah,
earlier.
I call that part of the business compound.
Yeah,
And then, and I'm starting to dabble more in it. We
yeah.
need to talk about this.
Yeah, yeah. It's and so that's the thing, like you have to have in my view, I discovered that way too late, but you can't bank it on one thing,
Yeah.
because chances are that one thing might not pan out.
Yeah.
It might,
Yeah.
but that, you know, diversification is
Yeah.
important, not just in your kind of stocking, but it's in everything you do in life. So I did that, and yeah, like Andrea manages 10 different LLCs for us.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. We need to talk
yeah,
about this.
yeah.
So yeah, to your point, the realization for me was I had a coach at Dell, like my first executive coach,
Hmm.
and I was super loyal to Dell.
Hmm.
And
I remember.
yeah, you
I tried to pull you for 20 years unsuccessfully.
I was super loyal. And he said to me one time, Carla, Dell is not your mom and dad. He was like, they will fire you tomorrow
Anybody will.
if you
Yeah.
don't hit the number.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And then I realized all my friendships were at Dell, all my network was at Dell, all my investments were at Dell, everything was at Dell. And that's when I was like, oh, I need to diversify. Like, this is kind of scary. He's
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
And I
It's
look,
awesome.
I'm super grateful for my time there,
For
but
sure.
insert any other company name.
Yeah.
You can't have everything in one
No,
basket, even if it's your own company.
that's right.
Um, okay, so I want to spend some time about what made you who you are, because there's a lot more to you than somebody who's an incredible business person, incredible salesperson. I've always said you have the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns to gold.
Thank you.
But you also are an athlete. I mean,
Still
your
trying to hold
son,
on
a
to it.
brother. Yeah, a son, a brother. So tell me what made you uniquely you? What was it like growing up in Colombia?
It was amazing, right? I mean, your your listeners probably have a very different view of Colombia, and for me, Colombia has so many aspects to it, and I just was lucky enough to be in a very um, in a great environment, right? And so that's not to say it wasn't easy, because the macro environment where I grew up eventually led me to come here because I wanted to, and I kind of had to. Because at a very early age, I remember thinking, which I don't think any child should have those thoughts. Very early on, I remember thinking and bugging my classmates about it, not shutting up about it, because I'm a little stubborn, and as you know, and don't know when to shut up. I always remember very openly sharing with everybody what my plan was to go move to the US and earn a basketball scholarship and stay there and marry and have a great life there. I remember bugging my friends with this in middle school, and they were like, What are you talking about?" And I was like, "You watch me," you know.
Oh my god, you used to say that phrase to me. By
Yeah.
the way, you used to say that phrase to me at Dell. "Watch me." Sorry, keep going. That's hilarious.
um, and so, but so you know, the macro environment there, obviously in the 80s and 90s, wasn't the greatest, but I was lucky enough to be very protected from all of that, or most of that. And so, you know, very close knit family, dad, athlete, businessman as well. So I think that's probably how I get that side of my personality. Super hardworking. Mom is an entrepreneur and an educator, right? So she's still, to this day, she's 75. And she still works in the school that she founded,
That's awesome.
and so she slowed down a little bit. She doesn't run it every day, but she goes 3 4 times a week,
Wow, that's
still,
awesome.
for several hours. And so you know um that kind of relentless entrepreneurship, go get it kind of attitude I got from my mom and my dad on the athlete side as well. So that's how I grew up. And you know it was great. It was amazing. Um I think it made me it made me tenacious and courageous. And in order to make it in Colombia, even growing up, you have to be very creative. So those are great things. On the other side of that coin, you have to watch your back over there, right?
Mhm,
That you can't just be walking around Bogota and not knowing where you're going and what you're doing, because you can get in trouble quickly,
mhm.
right? And so it also made me aware, um, you know, maybe sometimes a little risk averse as well.
Really? I
Yeah,
would never have guessed that about you.
I had to overcome that, especially in an environment of safety like the one we're in
Yeah.
here. But there, I remember, I mean, growing up, you're going to basketball practice or you're going out with your friend. You have to watch your back,
Mm,
especially in those years. Probably
yeah,
not as much anymore.
yeah.
But so growing up, which is what you're asking, I remember being very risk averse and very aware of my surroundings and very observant of my surroundings.
Risk averse meaning you wouldn't go certain places? What is risk averse? How did that translate as a
Uh,
kid?
Even to this day, like, if I go to a restaurant, you better believe it. I'm kind of scoping the whole restaurant.
Oh, you're looking for the doors and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
and the characters and who can potentially be a threat.
Wow.
And if something bad were to happen, what would be the safest route to
I
our
did not
car?
know this about you.
Yeah, yeah. And so that sort of you in that era over there, you had to do that.
You had to be vigilant,
Yeah,
hyper vigilant.
right. So I think now here less much so, right? But I still sometimes like, you know,
This is
I
interesting
do look
because
around.
Heido, you and I share this hypervigilance. So I grew up in an environment where I too had to be hypervigilant, and
Hmm.
I think if I had to guess, it's why we're so attuned to people.
Yeah, probably why we were good in sales.
Yeah,
We know how to read people.
and a judge a character.
That's right,
Like we could,
quickly, and you have to kind of get fairly quickly to it.
yeah,
Sometimes it makes us a little judgmental as well,
yeah,
as I've discovered
yeah,
late in my life, and
yeah,
try to work through that. But yeah,
yeah. But it also made us trust our intuition. And I
right.
remember early days, you and I would get the same read on people pretty fast.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of what you need to do to be great in sales, right?
Yeah,
Or one of the things.
yeah. Like if someone's intentions weren't pure, you and I knew it.
Correct. That's right.
We could tell right away. We'd be like, oh, no. We would just like give each other a look like, no.
I
Mm-mm.
know you're giving me the look right now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I remember. I
Yeah.
remember talking to you about people that we know and work. Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You could tell. Okay. So I want to talk more about the role of basketball in your life.
yeah.
If I remember, you played for the national team.
I did early on. My early years over there, and all the way until I moved here. I think when I was in college here, I went back one summer and spent the summer with the national team over there and did a few things there. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And how did you get into basketball? What drove that?
Um, I would say I grew up um, watching my dad playing
Hmm.
basketball.
Hmm.
My dad was a great basketball player,
Hmm.
possibly the greatest basketball player in Colombia ever.
Wow. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, yeah, he was the man for basketball over there. And so I grew up. I mean, I grew up. Sometimes he would take me to practice, and uh, I just watching it on TV, watching him practice, watching him play. So that's how I kind of learned to watch the game. And when I got a little tall and had some skills, kind of dove into it, and I guess became pretty decent at it. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
what role does that play in your life now? You and I were talking about it when you came over to the house. Like you're still you're still not letting up. And I have
No,
such admiration for athletes, so much so that I
yeah,
pretend to be an athlete. So
yeah.
I work out like an athlete in my in
In
my
my head, right?
day-to-day. Yeah, in my head I'm an
Yeah,
athlete. So
yeah.
how does that apply to your life now?
Well, so I don't play basketball anymore. Once in a while, I'd get out there, and scrimmage once in a while, at the whack or whatever around our house here. But I know I do more than anything. It helps me up here. I always tell
Yeah.
she's my wife, Andrea. She's always like, dude, what are you trying to prove? Like, you don't need to go run every day and go to the gym every day and look, which I do at this age, 51. I'm constantly injured, you
Oh
know,
shit.
like consistently injured
Mm,
for the past several years.
mm.
But I keep doing PT. I have like my team, right? I have like PT and trainers and
Oh my God, it's
chiropractors,
like
and you
me.
were talking about acupuncture. And
Yeah.
so I tap into them all the time now to keep me going. Because, yeah, look, I think more than anything, Carla, it's almost like the competition with you. That's
Yes.
how I think about it.
Yes.
Before, when I was a true basketball and an athlete, I was competing against others,
Yeah.
right? Um, you know, Other teams, sometimes other teammates for a spot on the team, or that kind of stuff. But what that has translated for me right now is a competition within me, and it's almost like a competition against time, and it's a competition of against my body decaying that I've embarked on. And I love it. And what I've discovered through it, other than all the injuries that I have all the time, is that it actually helps me it helps me up here.
Yeah.
It helps my head. It helps me stay clear.
Yeah.
It helps me. It, energy wise, stress wise. It just helps me in so many different ways. So yeah, I'm holding on to it until a doctor one day tells me can't do it anymore, and I'll probably change doctors at that time
I know,
and find
right?
one that tells me I can still do it. But
Totally.
yeah,
I mean, this is, I want to have this for the rest of my life. And, my
yeah,
dad is a great role model here.
yeah,
He's 85 this year and
that's
he
awesome.
still works out every day. He still lifts
Good.
weights. He has
That's awesome.
pecs.
That's awesome.
You know? And so I don't wanna give up on it. It's funny because Jeff said the same thing that Andrea said to you, but in a different way. He was like, "Carla, we're all eventually gonna get fat and old." And I'm like, "No, that's
Not yet.
not how I'm going
Not
down.
today.
Not today."
I'm the
And
same way.
I was talking to my trainer this morning
Yeah.
about it, and
Yeah.
I've been, like, treating my body like a science experiment lately,
Uh
and
huh.
it is frustrating her like crazy.
Yeah.
And she made the mistake of putting me on one of those body composition monitors, and it told me that I needed to lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, and, like, I was talking to her about it, she's like, "Seriously, Carla, like, what are we solving for here?" Like, she was like, "You are 53, like, you're doing awesome, you're an
Yeah.
athlete, like, you're at athlete level,
Great.
like,
That's
what are
right.
you trying to do?" And I still am like, "It's never ending."
Well, more than the athlete physically is the athlete mindset that
That's
you
right.
have. Is
Yeah.
the athlete mindset that I will not let go,
Yeah.
right? And as crazy as it sounds, in my own head,
Yeah.
I think it's a badge of honor that my knees hurt and because that means one thing, that I'm still out there.
Yeah.
Because they can, I can stop doing it and they won't hurt, but I would have stopped,
Yeah.
right?
I would
So
argue they might hurt more if we stop,
could be. That's
right?
right.
Other things might start to hurt.
That, absolutely right. I'm not ready to find out,
Yeah.
right? So that's always been a driver for me. Is the competition within me, is the competition against time, and I want to see how far I can take this body.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm the same way.
I'm not talking about it in a super way. I'm just how far I can keep it going, and there has to be a benefit to that. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Okay, I wanna talk about something that you and I have never talked about, but you brought it up earlier when you were like, be it God or the universe or whatever you
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
in. Are you spiritual?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I tell my wife and I, Andrea, talk about this all the time. Um, I think more than spiritual, I'm a little bit religious as well,
Okay.
right? And I don't say religious in the kind of typical sense. It's in, I go to church all the time and all that, but I do pray. I do kind of think about the greater being.
Mhm.
And I do, yeah. So I would say yes. And especially now with kids kind of traveling everywhere and getting internships and jobs and this and all that, like I find myself more than ever praying a lot for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so that is very top of mind for me right
yeah,
now because I feel a very strong responsibility to serve humanity, whatever that may mean.
yeah,
But at this stage of my life, I actually want to make a difference in the world.
yeah.
What's your hope for the future, Heido? Given where our world is today, the amount of transitions we're going through, the fact that you have children the same age that I have, what's your hope for the future? What do you pray for?
Many things, and I kind of put it in buckets, right? One, I pray. I was telling this to Andrew the other day. I pray that my kids and my family are better off than I am.
Mm,
I really do. I want all of them, and I'm not talking about just my immediate family, right?
mhm,
Even extended.
mhm,
I pray a lot for people to just be better than I am
mm.
in many ways, and I'm not talking about just financial. In any ways, in how happy they are and their stress levels and how content they are with their life and how at peace they are with themselves.
Mm.
So that's one of the big buckets I pray for. I also, this happened to me in the last, when I was able to step back from the operating companies, that shifted in me. It gave me some time to think about other stuff and step away from day to day grind, right? And I I pray and I think about how how the broader people out there, especially in our country, can become more equal and equity. And I think, and this is a topic that you and I have talked about a few times. My hope is that the broader masses out there discover that everybody has a role in the movie. And that's something that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, has become really important to me.
Mm.
And I really spend some of my running time and lifting time thinking about one, having the courage to speak up. I pray about having the courage to speak up when there's wrongdoing
Mm-hmm.
and not feel, especially coming from where I come from, right? Which is not easy. Um, and having a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I pray for people to have the courage to kind of stand up for themselves. I do think a lot about that, about equity, quality issues, and my hope is that, honestly, like, especially in our time here, we can see progress there. And I don't know if we will, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I pray about that. Um, what else do I pray about? What else do I think about spiritually? Um, and this is in general, I do think about a lot about how other people can be spiritual
Hmm.
without the heaviness of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Because where I came from, I don't think I ever told you this. I grew up going to a Catholic school where I had to go to mass. I had to confess. And I remember I got in trouble many times because I finally told the father who that I was not going to confess, because who was who was he to tell me what I needed to do when all he was teaching to us was that there was a God.
Yeah.
And so that was more important for me, to have a direct relationship with God, and that I remember,
And not a human.
and not you. Like, what makes you special, Father? And that got me in trouble. And so
Wow.
I refused to do confession. I'm
Good for
talking about I
you.
was like 7 or 8,
You're like, I'm not doing shame. That's not me.
which meant that I couldn't do communion. So I
Wow.
didn't do communion.
You sat out.
Sat out
I love
at
it.
age 7 or 8.
I love it.
Like, they kind of exposed me. They put me aside in front of all my, you know.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And but I do think that I think there's hope in me, and I do think about this often, that people discover that it's not only religion that can bring peace to them. And this is kind of like a journey that actually both Andrea and I have been on for a while. Um, you know, and I think that's also important to me,
Yeah.
for people to discover that it's not just religion that's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Um, it's actually truly being a good person and having morals, and having, trying to do good, and regardless of religion,
Yeah.
right?
How do you expose your kids to that?
it's been it's been hard. So early in our family, we used to go to Riverbend here all the time, every
Yeah.
Sunday, and this and that, and you know um we haven't been attending for several years. Once in a while we go, when we want our fix, and there's a lot of power and goodness to that, I think, the message and all that. But um how I've treated with our kids is, especially Mateo, because the other two, they did have like a
A foundation.
foundation,
Hmm.
and I feel that Mateo doesn't, because that's when we kind of
Yeah.
switch our thinking a little bit. So I what Andrea and I talk about this often. Even today, I was texting to her about actually this is what is meant for us is we got to double up our communication with Mateo, who's our youngest,
Hmm.
about really foundational pieces, not of religion but of character,
Yeah.
and what decision making and good means, and making good decisions and being a good person, and what that means to you versus the alternative, right? And more importantly, where that leads to later in life for him and for youngsters, right? So that's how we're trying to tackle it. um it's hard. It's hard because in one sense we do miss this about kind of like being a part of a church and all that, in a sense that kind of they help you with your laziness,
Yeah.
and someone else helps you with that, and you put them in Sunday school. But without that, the burden is on us. And what we've been trying to do is just spend a lot of time talking to him about who he is and who he wants to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What
Well, we did it by accident. So my parents, they grew up Catholic like you,
Yeah.
and but then when they immigrated to Montreal and then to Dallas, they kind of left religion behind.
Uh-huh.
And my one of my parents was an atheist, and the
Uh-huh.
other one was agnostic, and so I always joke that I was raised like with the worst of both worlds. I had like the guilt and shame of Catholicism with no heaven,
Yeah.
and so it was like a downside on both. But what my parents did, which was really special, was they told my sister and I that religion was a personal choice,
Yeah.
and they would take us wherever we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And then,
Smart.
and we grew up in a very religiously diverse part of Dallas. So, and we had friends from everything under the sun, like Unitarian, every Christian denomination,
Yeah.
Jewish Orthodox, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
And my sister and I did like the sampler platter.
Yeah.
Whenever we spent the night with someone, we would
That's
just
great.
go with
You
them
got
the next
exposed
day.
to a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And in particular, very heavily weighted towards the Jewish faith because it was a Jewish neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And so it was very cool because I got to see the common thread
Yeah.
in all of it. I also got to see that humans are fallible. So I got to see like, oh, I like that rabbi. I don't like that minister, and I would get to know some of them because some of them were like parents,
Yeah.
and so I get to see them as human beings.
Right.
Something happened by accident when we did our travels around the world.
Uh-huh.
We booked it last minute, and we inadvertently booked every major religion's Holy Week. So we experienced,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's so cool.
the Muslim, the Hindu, the Buddhist, the Catholic
Oh,
Holy
wow.
Weeks as we were going around the world. And so our kids got exposed,
to all
and they
that.
were also at the age where they were going to bar and bat mitzvahs. So they got exposed to everything like all at once in a year.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget coming out of that, and we failed him. Quentin said, I think I want to start going to church.
Uh-huh.
And so we did it that way, but I still kind of like with you're lucky because you have the third child, but like my kids are now fully baked and out of the house. And so now I'm feeling like, shit, we haven't had these conversations. I'm trying to have them now.
Yeah.
Like,
It's never too late. I mean, like,
yeah,
we
I
still
hope not.
talk about it with my older kids when they're home, when they
Yeah.
come, and we sometimes have a conversation about it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I feel like I have all these conversations in me that I want to get out. So poor kids, every dinner I go like really deep, really fast. But I feel like before I die, there are all these things I want to know about them, and I want to tell them.
Yeah.
Well, Heido, I think I learned even more about you
Yeah.
today, and I think it's so
Fun.
special that you came. And I think one of the standout things about your story is that you did it differently. Like you leaned into the fact that you were different, and that
Right.
became your superpower. And in a lot of ways, that's what I did. I started to identify
Right.
less with the herd, less with, oh, I'm an immigrant, or I'm from this part of the world, or it was more because I didn't fit in anywhere.
Right.
I made that my superpower.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So
That's exactly right.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And I feel very fortunate to have your friendship for
Same
another,
here.
I need another 50 years, please.
We're working on it until the
Okay.
body breaks.
Until the body breaks, which is
Yes.
no time soon. All right. Thanks, Heido.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Give
for
Andrea
having
and the
me.
kids my love.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for listening today. If you're so inclined, please follow, subscribe, download, share, all of the things so that we can keep going. We appreciate your support so much. If you're interested in learning more, go to thecoeffect.co.